I call Brett Hudson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's a pleasure to rise in opposition to this bill. I might just thank the member who's just taken his seat. I don't think in my life I've witnessed someone be so wrong in such an impassioned way. And I'm going to speak to this in a moment, sir, as a member that worked in the very telecommunications industry that he's trying to tell this House works a certain way, which I can assure the House it does not. But let's look at what Ms Curran's bill was looking to do. The idea has some theoretical merit. The idea that you get some technical experts to advise so a minister can make a better decision. That is a smart thing. However, you don't necessarily need to have a board if instead you have some very sound business process that achieves the same outcome without one. And, Mr Speaker, I chose to look at the process for procurement of telecommunications equipment that could have some implication for national security. There are about 8 steps, 8 very clear milestones and decision points in that process. Every one of them offers an opportunity for technical input, either from the GCSB or even more importantly, Mr Speaker, from industry. Really? So there's not a technical advisory board, but there is absolutely opportunity for technical experts both within the Bureau and from without to have their input. Now let's look at why we didn't make the board. Well, it was advised, it was reflected upon by a select committee. Now submitters might have said one thing, but it's the committee that decide. And the committee decided, Mr Speaker, the committee decided that the board would have to make decisions that would have to consider matters that involved classified information. So you're not just talking about representatives from Telecom or Vodafone, you're talking about people that have to have requisite security clearance. So they felt that, the committee felt that the board, even with the best intentions, would simply be ineffective in most of its decisions because they would relate mostly to commercially sensitive decisions they couldn't make and also potentially classified information which they shouldn't be a party to. So, on the basis that the bill was considered and this particular board was seen unnecessary, that the process already permits for the technical expertise to be rendered to the GCSB director and later the minister in that decision-making process, the third and perhaps most important test, Mr Speaker, would be to reflect now that the bill has been in place for 18 months. So let's count the number of complaints or issues that have been raised since this legislation has been in place.
How many?
0. So what we see in practice, Mr Speaker, is that the model that has been adopted both offers the input from industry as well as other experts within the Bureau. It's been in place for 18 months. There have been no issues. It was a sound decision by the House in the first place, and there is no need to change it. I oppose this bill, Mr Speaker.
I call Materia Ture.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. The Telecommunications Interception Capability and Security Bill was passed in 2013 alongside its sister bill, the GCSB bill, and those